Hey, welcome back. I have a knife here. That's not a box. So instead of unboxing, I guess we're going to be untoweling, unragging, I don't know, unclothing a knife here today on the channel. And what's really cool about this one, and it just slipped my mind where the design is, but I co-designed this and wow, what a beauty. You can probably see some familiar elements here. This is done by North Border Blades here in Bellingham, Washington. So I worked with the local knife maker to design what I thought would be a really cool EDC fixed blade. I really liked his work. He does amazing Damascus stuff. And yeah, and I wanted to buy something local and go through the process of kind of working on a custom knife. I've never done that before, so this was quite a journey, but quite a pleasure also. Let me get a little more light in here if I can. I want to see, I don't know if it's going to show through right now because the daylight's almost gone, so you can't really see it, but this is actually pretty translucent, and in strong sunlight you can see it really kind of lights up. Let me see if maybe my flashlight can illustrate that properly. Yeah, now you can kind of tell here, right? You can see how the epoxy resin here picks up the light, and yeah, it's super cool. So this handle was an idea he had. He basically took an aluminum honeycomb and dropped an epoxy resin into it, and then, basically took those slabs, put them on here, and then shaped them down into a handle shape. So, but man, what a beautiful, beautiful Sanmai Damascus, Sanmai Damascus. It's a ladder Damascus with a Sanmai design. So you basically have, normal steel, I don't know if you call it normal steel, but a non-Damascus steel down the middle, and then two Damascus 96 layer Damascus plates on the outsides, and then he carved that into a knife. So I have a video on Instagram showing all the steps he went through to get it to this point. But let's take a look at what we think about the knife, and we won't talk too much about putting it together, but I've recently bought a couple fixed blade EDC style knives from Boatwright Blade Works, which I think is doing great work. And yeah, this is kind of like my dream EDC here, was to have something very compact, sort of that Demco style, I don't know what you want to call it, sheep's foot, reverse tanto, whatever you want to call it, blade style. You can see there's obviously some differences there, but generally draws from the same ideas. I wanted the forward choil so you could choke up on it, do the draw cuts, and just have that kind of purchase up in the front of it, but then also have a really substantial handle where I wasn't quite going off the back of it. I didn't want to feel like I didn't have enough handle, if that makes sense, but also not so much where it's like really hanging out past my hands. This is like basically designed for my hand. It's about a 4-inch handle and then about a 3-inch blade. The cutting edge is probably 2.5 or 2.75 because of the finger choil there. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's about 2.5 inches of cutting edge. So I did trade a little bit of that. If I were to try and design this now that I have it in hand, I'd probably give it a little more cutting edge and then put the finger choil here and basically have there be one grip. Now that I'm kind of getting it in my hand, I'm realizing with a fixed blade, you really only need one grip on it. So I'd probably kind of blend this grip and that grip into one. And yeah, maybe I'll try my hand at it again with another design. But overall, I drew from my experience with folding knives mostly. Knives like the 3-inch Hinderer kind of came to mind. How that grips. The Demco, how that grips. The Benchmade Bug Out, which I've said many times, I think is one of the best all-arounds. You can see there's some very clear handle profile pulled from that. That was one of the top 3 that it pulled from. These are like kind of the top 3, these 2, and then like a Bark River Bravo, which I have in a box, so I can't get it out right now. But those were the design elements. If I was to carry it a lot, like this is a really good kind of prototype show knife. If I was going to carry it a lot, I'd go thinner on the handle. So these scales are very robust. Feels really nice in the hand, but it's kind of hefty. I haven't weighed it yet, but let's take a look at the weight. The overall length, by the way, 7 inches. In case you didn't do the math on that. But I'm going to guess this thing's like 4.5 ounces. Whoa, I was way off. All right, 6.25 ounces. It doesn't feel that heavy. It does feel heavy. I was feeling like, I was like, this thing feels like it's like maybe 5 or 5.5 ounces or something, but it can't be. I guess I'm wrong. It can be 6.25 ounces. This thing's a little hefter. That's funny. To way off on that one. I think I was dreaming what it should be in an ideal world or something on that weight, but yeah, I could see redesigning this one more time and trying to, like the boat right would be like a good example of something that's very compact. I felt like this handle was just a little too small. Like same thing here. I'd rather this be kind of like a finger choil here, but this one trades more of the blade length for, you know, and less handle. This one's more handle and less blade length. But I'd probably combine these two into one knife, and I think you could kind of figure out what that might look like, and it should come out to like kind of a perfect EDC. The design here was potentially as a carry knife, but the way it came out, it's not something I'd probably carry, just because it's a little on the heavy side, and like I guess that this thing's probably more like 4 ounces or less. I can't remember. I know I've weighed it on the channel before, but it's more in the size range where I could imagine myself carrying it just because of the weight. You know, there's a certain weight threshold at which I just don't really carry knives, and my little design here is over it. So yeah, this is just under 4 ounces. And I think that's kind of that perfect range for like a little fixed blade. Whereas this is certainly not quite, it could certainly be used fine, but not quite what I would, you know, in a perfect world do. This is great. I mean, I got to go do this and design it and see how it turned out and learn a lot along the way. Of course, I didn't do any of the work. David over at North Border Blades did a phenomenal job here and did all the work. And so all the credit to him. But I got to at least ideate through in a design and see it into reality, which is a really cool experience. And so if you want to go check out my Instagram, there's a picture of, you know, some Damascus steel getting put into the forge over at North Border Blades. And that is a video of, it's about a 1.5-minute video of this thing going from design through forge, through, you know, basically being carved into shape, laid out, carved into shape, handles added, and then handles, you know, obviously polished, repolished, all that fun stuff, pounded, repounded. There's so many things he did to do this. It's really phenomenal, and his price was super reasonable for what it is, for being such a custom knife. It's remarkable. Now it's not as inexpensive as something as what Chase is doing over at Boatwright. Like this is definitely less expensive, but he's doing those in, you know, volume, and I think he's doing those in volume. I'll just leave it at that. So it's just a different, this is a fully custom, one of a kind. Now, could he do it again? We have kind of a layout potentially. Yeah, I've got a friend that's already asking if he would make one of these for him. So I'm sure he could do it and do it faster the second time. But it wouldn't be exactly the same. It's not like there's a template for this or anything. It was, you know, basically done full custom. So really cool, quite an experience. And I've learned a lot more about knives. I've learned a lot more about Damascus. I didn't fully understand what went into like a Sanmai Damascus or what that even meant. But to do a, you know, a ladder Sanmai clad Damascus like this is a really cool thing to see from sort of beginning to end here. So I'm gonna just zoom in a little bit on that because I feel like that deserves its own little show here. Just Pretty darn remarkable design there. And I guess we should end with the real question that you should ask any custom knife maker. Does it cut? Let's find out. Oh, it will cut. Indeed it will. Nice job on the sharpening. I think it's almost like a near mirror, if not mirror, polished edge there that he put on it. So that's extra cool. So that's it for now. He's also working on a sheath. I just couldn't wait to get this home and unveil it to the world like a kid in a candy store. Pop that candy in my mouth and get that instant gratification. Yeah, really neat experience. And I wish I had the little paper I designed it on. I could show it on here, but I don't know where that is right now. So it did slip my mind before I started hit play here, or hit record on the video. So that's all for now. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.